welcome to episode 3 of Coffee Time with Jack. And to point something out, just to clarify, yes, this is coffee. I actually made a pot special for this because it's currently 10:51 at night. Um, but I wanted to make sure that you guys. Jeez, I can't actually show it. Hold on. There's coffee. Um, Someone actually commented in the last episode. We all know it's empty. Actually, it wasn't, but it did have tea in it because I was out of coffee at the time. So, but no, I made sure to have coffee. So today's episode was actually because my plan originally is was to kind of go back and forth between talking about gear and talking about music. I was actually going to talk about my favorite band's new album today because it's really, really good. However, I have to talk about something else. It's gear related. So I've had a lot of gear. I mean, I've had this channel for going on 9 years, and so obviously I've had a lot of gear. And one of my favorite things, if you would have asked me 5 years ago what my favorite tube amp would be, I would say this. This is a Crate Blue Voodoo 50 watt. I got this a few days ago, and it is, without a doubt, the worst amp I've had in a while. And that is not the amp's fault. It's fully functional. There's nothing wrong with it. I've owned, this will be number 3 or 4 of that model. I've owned a couple 60 watts. I think I've owned one 120 watt one. And it's just my tastes have changed, I guess I should say. And that's what this episode's about, is like taste changing and gear that maybe when we started out that we loved versus gear that now that you've had some time, you hate, or you go back and you try and on my channel, it's been a while since I've done one, and I was gonna do one on this amp. However, because I don't want to paint the amp in a negative light, um, I'm not going to do it. It's actually going back to its original owner tomorrow. So, but no, yeah. If you go back 5 years, about 5 years, 2015, 2016-ish, I got my first Crate Blue Voodoo. I had a half stack. It was a head and cab. It was the 60 watt version, and I loved it. It sounded amazing. I've over the years gotten several of them, and for a while, that was my favorite amp because it sounded, I don't know, it sounded what I expected a high gain amp to sound like. I was really new to tube amps at the time. The only other tube amp I'd only ever owned a couple. Besides that, the first tube amp I ever owned was a combo. It was a old Kalamazoo Model 2. I don't remember exactly. I'll have to check some pictures. But it was cool, and it was a little clean, one channel, probably like 10, 15 watt, maybe at most, 5 watt at least, combo amp. But in terms of high gain amps, my first tube amp head was a PV Triple X. I was very fortunate to get my hands on something like that, and at the time, I had no idea how fortunate I was because you can't find them now for the price that I paid. I've owned a few of those as well. The last one I got, I think I only paid $200 because the guy was like super late, and I got it on Christmas Day. And he was a nice guy, but I was paying him $250. But like I said, he was like an hour late, and I was like, dude, $200. You should have been here an hour ago. And it was kind of a dick move. I could have been nicer, but at the same time, it was Christmas, and I had to be out of town. So he was like, yeah, sure, we'll find whatever. And yeah, so, but I mean, besides that, going off on a tangent, the next tube amp I had was a PV Valve King. I actually traded the Triple X head for a Valve King 120 watt head and a Marshall 4x12. It was an MG 412. And that is another amp series that I absolutely love. You guys have, I've had multiple of them on the channel as well. After that, I had, I think, a 6505 MH, and that was fun. I've owned a few of those. And I traded that along with my original 1x15 cab, which is right there, for a Crate Blue Voodoo half stack. That was the first time I actually traded that cab. But I had that half stack for quite a while. I liked it a lot. And yeah, I mean, I don't, it between me getting rid of that and like getting it, I think I had owned a GCM 2000. I had owned another 6505, a PV Classic 50, a couple other amps. But one thing that was consistent is I always loved the Blue Voodoo. I picked up a 50 watt Blue Voodoo before I traded that, and then about a year later, after I had traded the half stack, I traded it for a Gibson SG, which I then sold very stupidly for way less than it was worth. But yeah, a year later, I basically cobbled together another Blue Voodoo half stack. It was another 60 watt head, and I had gotten a cab from someone else, and it worked. It sounded great. And I think I had bought another 50 watt, and that was the first time I'd gotten a Blue Voodoo that sounded bad. And I had bought it from Guitar Center, and I figured it was the tubes. So, and I wasn't sure, but I didn't want to spend $100 retubing it. So I took it back to Guitar Center. Had that little half stack for another little while. I don't remember what I traded it for. Got another one, and got another one of these, and the other 50 watt I got came in trashed. I got it from New York, and the guy did not know how to ship it. The unboxing video, I believe, is on the channel. And it was so bad. I was so upset. I then sold it for parts to an amp tech in town who fixed it eventually, and I got it back from him for, I think, a fair price. Like, I think I sold it to him for like $80, and I bought it back for $200 a couple of years, or about a year later, and traded that to get Montana. So I effectively paid $200 to get Montana back again. But yeah, that was the last time I had a Blue Voodoo that I actually liked. That Blue Voodoo traded for some pedals and an amp. Or some pedals and a Dean guitar, that's right, that I did not like. And that was the same day I picked up the Japanese Fender with the Kaler, with the neck that's actually on my Telecaster. That was about it was about 2 years ago, because that was before the pandemic. So it was 2 years ago, which is crazy to believe. But yeah, and I had gotten a chance to get one of these again. I traded my Jet City for it. Ironic that that's the second time I've done that. But buddy of mine who I got it from, his name's Tim. He's a great guy. And he told me too. He's like, if you don't like it, or if there's something wrong with it, or just like I said, if it's not really what you're vibing with, you let me know. I'll trade back with you, no problem. Got it home, and I played on it. And I played on it for a while too. I tried every guitar, and I could not get a tone out of it that I liked. Now, it's not to say that it's broken, because it's not. I got close, but I was not happy with it, and then I felt bad getting a hold of Tim and letting him know, and he was very understanding. He's like, yeah, no problem. We'll set up a time to meet up, and he got a hold of me today. Said, hey, let's meet up tomorrow. I said, no problem. So that's that's going back to him. Yeah. So it is sad because it's an end of an era for me. It's an end of like equipment. It's an end of me. It's an end of me liking something because I won't get another one. You know, I if I do, it'll have to be a 60 watt, and it would have to have a matching cab. I had talked to a buddy of mine who knows a lot about them, and he said that, well, there's different runs, which I knew there was a blue voodoo, then there's a red voodoo, and there's a black voodoo. The blue is the original, the red is the Sammy Hagar signature, and the black is the weird run they did when they switched over to China made or Chinese made. I could be wrong about that, but I know that they did switch over to black voodoos, and they're not as popular. I've never tried one of those, so. But apparently, there's different series in the blue voodoo range, and supposedly this is part of the series that doesn't sound that good. So I don't know. I can't verify that to be true, and very well could be. But yeah, it was really sad to get an amp that I was stoked. I was so stoked because it had been quite a while since I had a blue voodoo. Like I said, about 2 years. And I was like, yeah, this is gonna be great, you know, because the blue voodoo is part of my history. You know, it's part of me shaping my tone. Like, I want another blue voodoo 60 watt. I really do. I want to find one though that I think sounds good because I'd like to build a wall of amps. I think that would be really fun, and I want another PV Valve King. Not the two, the one. I want the original PV Valve King 100 watt head. That was I played my last show with that amp. Um, and it was the only time I played a show without a Fender solid state head. Every show, every festival I've ever done, I used a Fender Stage 100 head through the 1x15, and then I think later I pushed it through a 412. But at that time I didn't have one, and that was my main amp, and I actually kind of got some flack for that Valve King. I ran that Valve King through the 412, and I mean, it did great at the show. But yeah, it was the last show. Gosh, it was a long time ago. But anyway, back to gear. It is sad. However, we have. I'll give you guys a sneak peek at something else. So this is something I picked up very, very cheap. And when I say very cheap, I mean it was so cheap that I had to give it a shot, not knowing if I'd like it. And I'm in love with this amp. First of all, it looks really good. This is a Pulse PH30. It's 30 watt tube head. It's relatively light compared to other tube amps. And it sounds unique. I want to go with unique because the clean channel is beautiful. It's a nice sparkly clean. It's all tube. It runs on two 6L6s and I think one or two 12AX7s. It's really weird the way it's laid out, but yeah, it sounds really cool. The first gauge channel is not really usable. I mean, it you could get like some classic 70s tones out of it, but you have to dial it just right. However, sorry guys, the lead channel boost, or the lead channel or channel boost or whatever you want to call it, is phenomenal. It it has its own sound. I don't want to say it sounds like a JCM. It sounds like a Mesa Dual Rec. It sounds like a 65. You know what I mean? It sounds like a Pulse PH30 because I can't really say what it sounds like. It is phenomenal. Hmm. Actually, there's one thing I can say it sounds like, and I'm gonna get probably some hate for this. So I have some very interesting opinions about Line 6. My brother loves them, and another friend of mine, Jeremy, He also loves Line 6. Teach their own. I have no, like, you know, I don't judge people based off of what they use. I don't like Line 6. I have a couple videos on Line 6 products. I still want to try the Line 6 valve head. I really want to try that amp. The spider valve. I've never had a chance to get one at a fair price that I'm willing to pay. So I'm holding my heart up for that. But this pulse, I'm gonna put it down now. Sounds like a tubed line 6. And what I mean by that is the metal channel or the metal setting on their whatever channel, where it sounds good. It doesn't sound bad, but it's not. I mean, obviously, it's not perfect. It sounds like a tubed better version of that, to me at least. I could be totally wrong, and I don't know why, but I love it. It has a beautiful spring reverb, however you want to say it, and yeah, it's great. I paid under $150 plus shipping. It was just like 180. So, pretty nice for a 30-watt tube amp that's totally giggable. The clean channel is totally great, good for pedals and everything. And then the lead channel, that's perfect. You want your thick metal sound, it does the thick metal sound. Uh, it, it, it's um, it's funny because I had played on, like I said, I spent probably a good hour on the Blue Voodoo, and I'm just like, this just sounds not good to me, and I was just like, man, I mean, these are USA made crate heads that, I mean, they had quality behind their name. It's it's really debatable per person, if you like them or not. But I mean, they were designed by Marty Friedman and Dave Mustaine. I don't know about Dave Mustaine, but they were designed by Marty Friedman. Like, he helped design the originals. So that's saying something. The lead guitar player of Megadeth designed this through crate, and I have a special place in my heart for crate amplifiers. My very first guitar amp was a crate, and that bad boy, it was a 1x10 combo with a ton of built-in effects, all solid state. I had that thing for a long time. I played my very first concert when I was 16 with that amp. It didn't sound too bad. I mean, for a 16-year-old at his first show, it sounded fine. It's so funny because I remember being blown away. We were the opening act, so obviously there were other bigger bands like with their gear already set up, and here comes two guitar players, me and my brother, Justin. I have a 1x10. He has a 1x8. Let's do this. I've got a Gibson Les Paul. He's got, oh gosh, what was he playing? Let's see. I was 16. So yeah, he's got a crate Stratocaster because he didn't have his Ibanez yet, I don't think. And then we both have acoustics. And behind us, there's two half stacks loaded with different heads. And I mean, there was a Line 6 Spider 3, there was a PV Valve King, there was a Marshall JCM 900 or 2000. It was one of the two. On his side, there's an Orange Rock Reverb. Just all these amps that I'm like, these are insane. Like, I could never afford these, and I've owned half of them at this point now. I've owned a JCM. I've owned several different types of JCMs. I've owned a few different Valve Kings. I've owned one Line 6 amp. And it was a Line 6 1x12, and it was not bad. It was not terrible. It was a Line 6 Spider 3, and I paid $75 for that and a guitar, and I sold them for $200. So, but it was not bad, you know. So it's just funny, like, how my taste in gear changed. I used to be a total gear snob. I will be open and honest. And it's ironic because I was a gear snob and I didn't have money to be a gear snob back then. I still don't have money to be a gear snob, but I have a little, I have a little bit more say because of all I've owned. Back then, if it wasn't a Fender and if it wasn't a Gibson, I'm sorry, it was not good enough for me. Which is terrible to say now because some of my favorite guitars I've ever played were neither of those companies. I've had Ibanez's that just blew a lot of Gibsons and Fenders away. I've had my hands on a couple. Well, there was this one PRS, and this was the first PRS I ever liked. It was a PRS single cut with a single P90 at Guitar Center, and I was considering buying it. It was like $50 short. They would not go down on the price. And I was like, maybe PRSs aren't really bad guitars, and they would. My opinions have changed since then. I like PRS, but back then I hated PRS. I didn't like what they symbolized in my town at the time. We have a very we used to have a big underground hardcore scene kind of here, or like in this area between a couple big cities, and yeah, there was this band, and I'm still friends with the guitar player. He's a great guy. The band was called Bring Them Low, and he had a PRS, and it's not his fault, but like that's what turned me off because at the time I hated that type of music. I was like, this is not music. This is noise. This is ridiculous. But it's yeah. Again, my opinions have changed, and I like a lot of like some hardcore music. I like a lot of it, and it's helped inspire me to try different types of writing and try different types of guitars. But at that time, I thought, if you had a PRS, you should be wearing an Affliction T-shirt. You should be, you have like sunglasses on all the time. I had a really skewed opinion. Um, but yeah, that was, I mean, a big thing that's changed for me. I will say consistently, I've always liked PV amps. I've never had a bad PV yet. I will say yet. The closest I had was a PV that did not work. I'm from a town between Flint and Lansing in Michigan. It's just a little town in the middle of nowhere. No one's ever heard of. So I'm just that's what I'll say. I've spent a lot of time in Lansing at some shows, and I've spent a little bit of time in Flint. A lot of time at the machine shop. I'm a huge fan of the machine shop. Um, I've seen my favorite band there. I can't do this. Gemini Syndrome. I've seen them twice. I've seen a lot of good local acts there too that have just blown the roof off the place. Um, but yeah, my throat's really dry tonight. But yeah, it's just funny looking at gear. You know, like I said, Gibson, Fender were my two main companies, and I mean I have a Gibson Les Paul and a Gibson Explorer. I've got two Fender Strats and a part Castor Tully, whatever you want to say. But I will say another company that's like really proven their worth to me is Schecter. I've owned three Tempests in my life, and all three of them have been fantastic guitars. And I played a couple Hellraisers that were really nice. I give Schecter so much praise. I don't think they get enough. I really don't. I mean, their main guy to me is Sinister Gates from Avenged. He was the guy that introduced me to Schecter. Hearing, Avenged Seven. Oh, excuse me. Hearing Avenged Sevenfold for the first time, I was like, "What kind of guitar does he have?" I looked up, found out, and so yeah. But no, Schecter, they do so much for me. They're like they're really top quality for me, which is so weird to think. But yeah, it's been a sad realization that like a piece of equipment that I cared for in my heart, and I was like, this is like, this is great. Is I've really changed my opinion on, and I wonder like what else I will change my opinion on. I've noticed my favorite speakers for a while have been the Celestian 7080s. They're very warm, low end Celestians. They're very affordable, but I've always liked the sound. And recently I got my hands on a nice 1x12 cab. It's a nice Randall, loaded with a Celestian greenback. And I have to say that's probably taking over as my favorite speakers, but greenbacks are very expensive. I've had a lot of V30 cabs. I like V30s to an extent, but I don't know. 7080s were always nicer because I could get a lot more low end out of the sound. V30s were very mid range. Um, but I don't know, the greenback seems like a very good balance, so I might have to investigate getting a couple greenbacks and take the Celestians out of my two or the Celestians out of the 212 and put in some greenbacks at some point maybe. Other gear, uh, I've always been like Boss is the company to get pedals. Boss. Like you want high quality pedals, you get Boss. And I still stand by the fact that you want high quality pedals, you go with Boss. But there are a lot of other good pedal companies now. Um, just Boss is expensive. I've been very fortunate in my life that I've gotten a lot of good gear, either really really good prices or as gifts. Um, I actually had to sell Driftwood, my Les Paul, for reasons. And I hope to get it back. I sold it to a friend of mine with the intention of finding a way, hopefully around tax time, to buy it back. But part of the deal was I got this. It's a Boss Super Overdrive. I have heard a lot about Weber speakers. I have. I've heard so much about Weber speakers, and I actually plan on getting them. Weber and I think Warehouse. That might be the same company. But I heard of both of those speakers, and I plan on trying them out. Um, because Celestians are crazy expensive. Unless you go Harley Benton, you usually can get a good deal with Harley Benton. But yeah, Boss used to be my pedals. But now Boss. MXR is another big company that I love. I love the pedals from MXR. This Phase 90 was a birthday gift last year from my fiance. And I love it. I don't use it as much as I should, but whenever I'm like, I need to be smashing, I need to be Billy Corgan for a minute, I will put this thing probably about here, so barely on, turn it on, and I'll just start riffing like some chords just to make a huge sound. Another amp company that I never thought I would like, but they're my favorite amp company, is Orange Amplifiers. I mean, I'm using a little Orange Crush to hold up my phone right now. I have this, which I think I talked about this in another live stream. Oh, whatever. A box fell. Um, I think I talked about this in another live stream, and I can't remember if I did. This is a Orange Crush 20L, and it's a little Doom monster. It's solid state, but I turned it into a head. It was a combo. Now it's a little head. Nothing that like you can play a show with, but it's it's still cool to have. I have an obsession with taking combos and turning them into heads. I have a PV Rage, like a really early PV Rage. I'm just dropping all the sorts of stuff tonight. That I picked up for $20 a while ago, and I use it as a little head if I want to try something different. I have a PV. I'm not gonna pick it up. It's like MV or Envivo or whatever, 110. My dad, when he started getting into guitar, he actually needed an amp, and I was like, oh, I should get him a PV. I was trying to find him a Bandit, because a 1x12 Bandit is like the perfect amp, I think, to start out with. And I didn't, but I found that, and I cleaned it up, and he used it for a while, and he loved it. Now he's got a pretty nice setup. He's got a Spark that he loves, and then he's got a B-52 half stack, which we'll get into them. He loves them, and it doesn't sound terrible. For the, I mean, he paid $10 for it essentially. So, other pedal companies that I used to hate but now love, I'm not gonna reach it. Up there behind my vinyl pop figure, I have a Dod Octopus. The Octopus wasn't for me. I wanted a nice octopus pedal, and I'm gonna look elsewhere. But I had a DoD delay a long time ago, and it sounded really good. But I mean, there are companies. Joyo and Donner are my two favorite affordable pedal companies. You can get a nice Donner pedal for under 20, for like $20. You can get a nice Joyo pedal for between 20 and $30, and they're really built. The quality is great. Um, I actually had a little Donner like thing that powered all my pedals, and I think that's actually what was causing a lot of feedback. So I might invest in something a little bit higher quality when I rebuild my pedal board next year. So maybe I'll do that because I did that last year. Maybe I'll make it a yearly segment where I just redo my pedal board every single year for some reason. Um, the biggest pedal change in my life, and I don't know. Well, I just had it too, and I don't know where to put it. But I got my first TS9 this year, and that changed my life. Getting a TS9 and really getting to use an overdrive properly. I've owned, I've had one of these before, the Boss Super Overdrive. I've had a Bad Monkey. I've had a little Ibanez Tube Screamer, and I've had a Moore Green Mile, which I'm actually getting that back. I'm selling the TS9 to my brother. There it is. If I don't drop it, jeez. This TS9 has changed my opinion on pedals. I've never been one, I guess I should say, to use effects and like really trust in effects, but I this changed my mind. Obviously, I wanted something like this to go for a certain sound, which I still, do, but this I was like, can this really change my amp? Can this really make my amp sound that much better? A tube screamer. Can the screamer really make my amp scream? I got this. And I put this in front of my PV Butcher, which is effectively a GCM 8 or GCM 800 made by PV. It doesn't quite have the same amount of gain as a Marshall. It's very mid gain, which that's fine. I put this bad boy in front of it, and I'm full on in metal territory, doing the Zach Wild thing where you have your gain all the way down, you have your volume all the way up, you have your tone all the way up, and I'm right where I need to be. It's insane. I don't understand how this little circuit works. I'm not a pedal builder. I leave that to my buddy Cody. He is. Um, Maybe he'll explain it to me one day how the circuit works. But it's crazy, and it's changed my life to actually say, I've owned a TS9 and I've got to try it out. So, yeah, I mean, it's cool that, having different gear. I mean, at the beginning of this year, I dubbed this as the year of gear for me. I was in a place, and I'm still somewhat in that place right now. But I've kind of changed like my opinions on getting gear. I still planning to get more when I can, but this year's been fun. Um, but yeah, I had no idea the journey I would go on this year. For a journey for myself and a journey for like my experimentation. I mean, I have stuff in here that I haven't even shown you guys yet. Like this. And it's so little and it's so nothing, but it's so interesting. My buddy Chris, he's the guy who had the LBX. He still does. He might keep it. He might sell it. He's not sure what he'll do, which that's fine. He got a guitar and an amp from his uncle this year. And the guitar, we're gonna turn it into a an EVH copy, a Frankenstein Strat, and he got this amp with it, and it's so not cool, yet it's so really cool. It's a little custom amp, and I see these for sale all the time for like 30-40 bucks. It's 2 channels. It's got, gain, volume, and voice along with a headphone out. And it's probably got like the little 4 ohm 15-watt speaker. And it's probably 4 inches across, maybe 5. And yet it sounds not like horse poop. I really want to take the speaker out and make this into a head and see how it would sound through a 212 and a 112 and a 412 if I get another 412. Yeah, it's crazy. Also getting a Strat this year that I was never expecting to fall in love with. Betty White, the Fender I picked up not too long ago. That's just it's had a hard life, and I'm gonna be nice to it, but I'm also probably not. I have plans for it, and you guys will see. And trying scalp fretboards, that was an awesome experience. I want to get another scalp fretboard guitar. I thought about doing it to Betty White, but I don't know yet. So I guess doing the year of gear was a really good experience for me, and I'll probably talk a little bit more about this, and like I'll do an end of year live stream. We're not quite to the end of the year yet. You know it's not even, what's today? It's the 13th. I don't have my glasses, so they're downstairs. But yeah, it's been quite the experience getting all this new gear, going through it, trying it. I've owned the most expensive gear in my life this year, and I've also owned the most cheapest gear I've ever owned in my life this year, I think. And I found things in both that I liked, and I learned that I don't like V30s as much as I expected I would. I had a Marshall V3412 that was amazing. However, it just wasn't what I wanted for a sound. A 412 or a 212 with 70/80s, I still prefer, but greenbacks might change that. I picked up a really cheap tube amp that I was like, well, if I don't like it, I can trade it or whatever. And now it's my favorite little 30-watt head. I have a fondness for a PV Classic 30. I've owned 2 this year, or at least 1, and I still love them. I think they're awesome little combos. I think they're the perfect gigging 1x12 combo. But this might replace the 30-watt love, and it's so cheap, and it's so not good. That's also so good. The only crappy thing is it needs like it needs a foot switch like this to run both channels and the reverb. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I've also got projects that I need to finish. I have my Epiphone Special 2 that I need to finish. I I'm debating on just straight up covering it with stickers. I need to order a new bridge. I have a bridge picked out. It's only like 15 bucks. But the biggest thing that's like slowing me down is I don't have access to a drill right now, and I need to bore out the tuning holes to put in some locking tuners that I have for it. I still have that broken headstock Taylor or J Terzer. Um, I plan on buying a neck for it and doing all of the work on that. The Explorer right now is down. I have it stripped apart. I sanded some of the paint off because I wanted to see how the wood looked underneath. But getting that fixed up, that'll be that's something that I'm really hoping to have done by summer. And I'm talking fixed, repainted, put together. If I could have that done by the summer, I'm talking May, that would make me really happy. Because I miss playing on it already, and I've only had it down for maybe a month or two at most. So yeah, we'll see. Um, um, yeah, I'm trying to think of any other updates. Oh, I know I haven't recorded this video yet. Or if I have, it didn't work. This is the Christmas present I got from my fiance this year. It is a Joyo Jackman. I don't think, did I do this video yet? It's been the last 3 weeks, guys, have been kind of crazy for me. So between getting Christmas ready and getting other stuff ready and going through stuff that I don't really want to talk about. Okay, no, I haven't done the video on this yet, or at least I haven't posted it. I'll have to see if I recorded it. But yeah, this thing is the weirdest little thing. It sounds great if you don't run through the headphones. I don't like the headphone sound yet. I think I need different headphones, maybe too. But it's cool and it's a little compact and stuff. Like, I had an audition for a band, um, about a month ago. Not a month ago. Was it really? No, it was about 3 weeks ago. I had an audition for a band, and I took, I think, the Black Star, and this was my backup in case the Black Star failed, because it was the day I got the Black Star, I think. And I was like, well, I need a backup. Let's toss this in the bag, and my bag of cables, and this will be the backup, because it's totally loud enough. It's 20 watts. It's hybrid. It's a lot. It's a lot like a Valve or a micro terror, but this is 2 channels. Um, it's great. It really is. I wouldn't mind getting the newer one with the foot switch. Doing a comparison video. But yeah, I don't know. I wanted to do a live stream for you guys. It's been a bit, and yeah. So we will see what comes in the future. I'm going to probably hook up this pedal here because I haven't really had a chance to experiment with it, and play guitar for a little bit because yeah, I mean, not super loud because it's now 11:30 at night. Maybe I'll do it in the morning. I don't want to bother the neighbors, which I'm pretty thankful. I have some pretty cool neighbors that don't get too upset if I jam too loud too late, but I don't like to push my luck. So anyway, guys, I appreciate you coming over and hanging out with me. I've got a couple things that I'm gonna see about recording this week. Probably the Pulse, and if I haven't recorded this video, for this amp, I'll record it. Oh, that was one last thing I wanted to talk about. So, if you guys haven't noticed, in the last 4 videos, I've had 3 different cameras. Because, as I've said for a little while, my camera will not work. What I mean by that is I don't know if there's a battery in this right now that's even... Yeah, no. My camera will not work. And we don't know why. What happens is I record something and it records as an MP4, but YouTube, my editing program, even if I just try to open the video raw in my video player, nothing will register the video file as an MP4 file. I have no idea what to do. And it sucks because I spent a fair bit of money on this. Like, it's not the cheapest camera. It's nowhere near the most expensive camera. I just wanted a moderately nice camera to record with. And actually, I liked it. I liked it a lot. I liked the microphone. It sounded really decent for, I think it was like $250 maybe. I can't remember. And I went out a lot. I bought a nice little tripod that isn't tall enough. I even got like an editing software. I mean, I didn't buy an editing software. I got a nice free editing software that it's very useful and I can still use it. But yeah, the so the Marshall Origin 50 video is recorded on the phone I am currently using. It's just a Motorola phone from like 3 years ago. It's my current cell phone. The Black Star HT50 video was recorded. It's downstairs on a Samsung Prime, and that's from like 6 years ago, and it did its job, and it didn't fail. I mean, it just took forever to upload, and I tried to edit it to make it look a little bit nicer, but I know the quality's not the best. And the Mod Monster PV Raptor video was recorded on my fiance's older cell phone, which is a Samsung Note 9, I believe, or Note 9 Plus or something like that. And it's great. So that's what I'm gonna. She's been very gracious and nice to allow me to record phone videos with her phone until I get the camera situation figured out. I'm wondering if it's just the SD card, so I might buy a new SD card and try it. But actually, I like her camera a lot. So maybe if I get a new phone someday, maybe I'll get like another Samsung. It was the Samsung Prime I had was a great phone. It was just old. But yeah, I wanted to talk about that and the inconsistencies of quality in my videos. Also, owning my first Plexi was really cool this year. I think I think I'll get another Plexi, but I'll go for the 20 watt version, just to get a little bit more gain out of it, and not having to push it so loud. Plus, you get like a half-watt mode, so that's pretty cool. I don't know. But anyway, guys, I really do appreciate everyone coming over, who's going to watch this when it's archived, because I make sure to archive these videos, or at least I try to. And, yeah, enjoy and have a good time. I'm going to see, maybe I'll do another one of these next week. I want to at least do 2 more before the year's over. So we'll do one at the end of the year, and I'll recount like a lot of the gear that we got this year for the year of gear. Next year, I am going to come up with a different theme, I think. Maybe we'll call it the year of covers, and I'll just come up with a cover and do a cover every week. If that's something you guys want to see, something like that, let me know. I know I don't post a lot of covers. If you go back on my channel, and you got to go back, I used to post originals, some with acoustics, some with just me and, I mean, it was usually just me and a guitar and singing, or just me playing a guitar. But I have some originals that I don't even remember on here, that I'd love to relearn. And yeah, it's been a wild ride doing these videos. I've done them, like I said, I've done this channel for 9 years. And it's interesting to look back. I do occasionally will go watch old videos. If I'm looking at a piece of gear that I've owned, but it's been a few years and I forgot what they sound like, I trust myself enough to be like, what's this sound like? And being able to somewhat, get close to a sound that I like with a piece of gear, versus someone else on the internet who, might be able to get close, but might not dial something the way I like to dial it. So, but anyway, I really appreciate everyone coming out. I hope you guys have a great night. This is Jack Punkington signing out. Peace, everybody.